Hey, what's up guys? I'm the Tony Hernandez and today I'm gonna be talking about the exposure triangle or dynamic trio. So let's roll the intro and let's get this thing started. Alright guys, so when I started photography, I really didn't grasp the full potential of the exposure triangle. At that time I started going to college and I was going full-time and I was working full-time at a snack bar. The only day that I was actually investing time on photography was the weekends, and even then I didn't invest enough time. My career was something else totally different from photography and filmmaking, so I didn't see the need to invest more time. Until one day a good friend of mine helped me realize that I was not pursuing my passion. I was pursuing something else. I was investing time in something that I really didn't want to do. So I changed my mind and my career and I decided to pursue my passion. And that passion is to deliver a message through photography and filmmaking. When I started studying more and going more in depth, I realized the importance of the exposure triangle. I realized that with these basic components, photographers were achieving so many amazing things. I was so impressed. I was so excited that one day I will be able to achieve those things. I was so pumped. Now guys, I want to share this knowledge with you so you can one day achieve these things as well. Alright? So the importance of the exposure triangle or dynamic trio, how I like to call it. The exposure triangle is pretty much the relationship between the ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. It's called triangle because they work hand by hand. If you adjust one, you need to readjust the other one. But you know what? Let's ask someone else if they have a better definition. Alexa, what is exposure triangle in photography?
Here's something I found on Wikipedia. In photography, exposure is the amount of light per unit area reaching a photographic film or electronic image sensor, as determined by shutter speed, lens aperture, and scene luminance.
Cool. Right, so you heard Alexa. So these settings change depending what is it that you're trying to achieve. Alright, if you're doing night photography, are you trying to capture the lights and movement? So then you have to work with your shutter speed. Or if you're trying to make your background blurry and make your subject pop out of the background, then you have to work with your aperture. Or if it's just dark and you try to make things brighter, then you work with your ISO. Alright, so the first one, ISO. So ISO basically is just a camera setting that helps you darken or brighten an image. Therefore, it helps you to brighten an image if you're working in a dark environment. But you have to be very careful because if you increase your ISO too much, then you will encounter the problem of having too much noise or grain in your image. And that type of grain is not pretty good. So number 2, aperture. What's aperture? Aperture pretty much is the amount of light that goes through the lens. Alright? Aperture is the diaphragm that opens and closes, allowing this light reach the camera. A good way to compare the aperture is the human eye. You know, when you move from a dark to a bright environment, your iris resizes, controlling the pupil. So that way you will be able to see, you know. Aperture tends to be what people struggle the most to understand. But let me explain, okay? So aperture is measured with something that is called f-stops, alright? The higher the f-stop, the iris of the lens, the diaphragm, closes. So that means the less light is going through the lens. Alright? This also means that your background will be more focused. Alright? And the opposite of that, if your diaphragm opens, the f-stop decreases. So yeah, your diaphragm opens, the iris opens, and this allows more light to go through the lens. Also, this means that your background will be more blurry, making your subject pop out of the background. Yes, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what aperture is. It's pretty simple. Alright guys, so okay, moving on. Number 3, shutter speed. To understand shutter speed, we need to know what shutter is. Shutter is a curtain in front of the camera sensor. Alright, so shutter speed is the amount of time that curtain is gonna be open. Alright, let's use ports as an example. So if you're in a car race and you want to take a photo of a car in movement, you need to increase your shutter speed. These will do 2 things. 1, it will allow less light to the camera, and also it will freeze the subject. To compensate the less light coming into the camera, you can increase your ISO or lower down your aperture. Alright, so this will freeze. Increasing your shutter speed will freeze the car, so you will have a clear image of the car. Everything else behind the car or around the car is gonna be in movement, but the car. Alright, and if you have a lower shutter speed, everything in the photo is gonna be in motion, so blurry. Shutter speed also helps you at night photography, right? It's called long exposure photography. So this pretty much allows you to have the curtain open for longer time, so this allows more light go to the sensor, to the camera sensor. So this helps you if you're trying to take a photo of the city. Just set up a tripod, because then the sensor is more sensitive, and every movement, even when you breathe sometimes, the camera is gonna shake a little bit, and that will make the image blurry. So it's recommended to have a tripod when you're doing long exposure. Alright guys, so thank you so much for staying to the end of the video. I hope this information is helpful to you. I'm gonna leave a link down below so you can click it and download an infographic about exposure triangle. This is gonna help you a lot. You can have it in your phone and just pull it up every time you need to see something. Thank you so much guys, and don't forget, ring the bell, thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. See you guys next time.